Alright, gameplay footage looks good. Let's wrap up the rest of this video with the script. Just gotta type out a couple more sentences and, yeah, right, okay. Hey there everyone, this is Dr. Modelot, and welcome to the office. Keyboards and mice are two very important components to your computer, and honestly there are a ton of options out there to choose from. While these two devices might seem very average, different keyboards and mice can vary in quality and functionality by so much that choosing your keyboard and mouse can be just as important as choosing a processor or a graphics card. Maybe you want a gamepad and a mouse solution for gaming, but you really just want something that will work and look pretty cool. Well, today we're going to look at the cheapest gamepad and mouse combo I could find on Amazon, the Snpurdiri gaming combo set. I bet a handful of you are probably pulling up Amazon right this very second to look up this combo set, and you're gonna say, Dr. Modelot, that's not the cheapest combo set on Amazon. There are some that sit right at the $20 mark, or sometimes even a little lower. Unlike the one you're talking about here, which is clearly priced at $22.99. And you're right, there are sometimes cheaper options that crop up when sales come around, but when I bought this on sale, it was just over $17. Just stop and think about that for a moment. A gamepad and a mouse for $17. These are basically just over $8 individually, and that's dirt cheap for what you're getting. Of course though, that ends up begging the question, what kind of quality do you get out of an $8 gamepad and an $8 mouse? Well, after some testing and some usage, I can tell you, not a whole lot. But let's take a more in-depth look at what we've bought. Starting off here with the box, we see that there are some features listed on the front. For the mouse, these include, quote, honeycomb RGB illumination and a maximum setting of 6400 DPI. The gamepad offers macro recording without the need of software and one-handed control. I mean, I guess that's a feature. On the opposite side of the box, we get some more detailed information. Interestingly, there's listed compatibility all the way back to the Windows Vista operating system. I'm sure all 10 of the Windows Vista purists out there are really happy right about now. Let's skip past unboxing so that we can get right to the contents. Inside the box, we have the gamepad and the mouse, of course, but we also have a couple extra goodies. We have this small brush used for cleaning our new gamepad of debris from our future use, and interestingly, we also have a keycap remover. No, this gamepad does not use mechanical key switches, it does use membrane keys, so it's kind of funny that they include this tool for prying off your keycaps. You see, nowadays, this kind of thing is usually only reserved for fancier mechanical keyboards where removing keys is necessary to change out and modify your switches. So I'm guessing this is just to remove keys for cleaning. So thanks guys. Also, of course, there's a manual for the set and we'll have a look at that later on. Once we get both the gamepad and the mouse plugged in, we're greeted to this RGB wave effect. It's pretty standard looking, maybe used a little too liberally for the mouse. The keypad has its own RGB effect running as well. However, using combinations of the function key and the F keys, you can change the colors, change the brightness, or shut the RGB lights off completely. The mouse uses its own separate set of controls to change the color and has some similar options between solid colors or a color wave. So at first when I was hitting these buttons on the mouse, I thought that I was changing the RGB colors, but what I was actually doing was changing the DPI setting. Each color represents a different level of DPI, and it will blink a different color for a few seconds to show you what setting you're currently on. If you're not familiar with DPI, it stands for dots per linear inch. The easiest way to describe DPI is how many pixels your mouse moves in 1 inch of straight physical travel. So a setting of 1200 DPI would mean that moving your mouse 1 inch in one direction makes your mouse cursor move 1200 pixels on screen. One last small detail that I noticed on the mouse is that the bottom of it has this metal plate around the laser. Maybe I haven't bought enough new mice to notice, but I've never actually seen this kind of detail underneath a mouse before, so that's kinda interesting. Alright, I've given enough praise to these so far, let's get down to why this combo set is just not all that great. Well, for starters, these two devices don't belong together. They're sold in the same package that has both products on the front, but these two devices weren't built to be sold with one another. But how could I possibly tell that? Well, my first clue was seeing that the gamepad uses a standard sort of rubber material for its cable, while while the mouse has a much nicer, higher quality braided cable. Now, sure, that's a pretty small thing. Now, my second clue was going on Amazon and seeing that there were tons of other combo packs with different mice and different accessories, but all selling the same gamepad that had been rebranded. Take, for example, Red Thunder, which has a very different mouse, but the same gamepad using the Red Thunder brand name. You can even buy the gamepad separately, albeit for kind of a ridiculous price considering what I paid for this combo. And then there's this one from MF Tech, which is actually designed slightly differently, but some of the parts like the palm rest look extremely similar. Different mask for this one, of course, and it even includes a mouse pad. And what about this one? Heck, this one has one of those keyboard and mice converters with it for geez, another $30? That's a bit of a ripoff. And of course, like the others, it also has a different mouse entirely. So yeah, this gamepad is one of those generic Chinese manufactured items where you have one model of electronic that's rebranded by like 20 different companies. They're all the same, and to be quite frank, they aren't even that good to begin with. First of all, the Amazon page shows a, quote, ergonomic design with this palm pad that's clearly meant for your hand to rest on, but this is far from what I'd even call ergonomic. Okay, so I do have some pretty large hands in general, but my palm can't even rest on the pad and use the keys at the same time. The only comfortable way for me to use this gamepad is to only rest the top portion of my hand on the palm rest. Either that, or I have to curl up my fingers like some kind of spider, or just rest my fingers all over the gamepad. I mean, seriously, what even is this? Oh, also, if you couldn't tell, nothing about this palm pad is comfortable, like at all. It's a hard piece of plastic and it can't be moved or adjusted in any direction. On the bottom of the gamepad, we have these rubber feet on each corner that keep it from moving or sliding during use. I do have to put a decent amount of force on it to get it to actually move around, so I guess that's a good thing. These keys though, they're just not great quality at all. They just feel like they mush pressing them in, and they have little to no tactile feedback when you click them. Nothing like a mechanical or even a standard membrane keyboard. They just feel incredibly cheap and low quality. Also, there's something up with the gamepad's RGB lighting effect. The lights like to shut off randomly. At first, I thought maybe it was a kind of sleep function when the lights weren't in use, but no, it just likes to turn itself off for no reason. Alrighty, so what about the mouse? How does it feel to use? Well, it doesn't feel all that great either. At first, I thought these hexagons were used as like a weight reduction like we've seen on a lot of current mice. You know, maybe it was hollow underneath, but nope. This is only used to display the RGB lighting effects in the mouse. Funny enough, one of the more baffling issues it has is actually the placement of the left and the right mouse buttons. Now, how can you possibly mess up the button placement on a mouse? So apparently, it's actually pretty easy. You do it by not having a gap between the mice buttons. The buttons are flexible enough that they can actually overlap, rub, and get stuck on one another. It's just really not great. Aside from that poor design choice, the mouse does at least feel better than the gamepad in terms of material quality. Eventually, I was satisfied with my examination of both the mouse and the gamepad, so it was time to actually test them out. However, I didn't want to have to undo all the cable management from my main PC or even plug these devices into my main PC, so what did I do? Well, I went with the best solution I could think of. I built a test bench to test a gamepad and a mouse. It made sense to me at the time, okay? After I finished up with setting up the test bench, I sat down to read through the included manual while my drivers were updating. The manual has 8 pages in total, and 7 of them are focused on just the mouse alone. The very last page talks about the function of the gamepad. Funny enough, the front of the box said no software required for the macro function on the gamepad, which is true. However, the mouse uses its very own software for changing colors and rebinding buttons, so there's no software for the gamepad, but there is software for the mouse. Just goes to show you even more that these products weren't intended to be sold together. So, the manual states that when you plug the mouse in, you get prompted to install the software for it. And anytime the manual talks about the software, it refers to it as the program. Spelled like this and always capitalized whenever it's referenced. By the way, that prompt to install software? Yeah, it never showed up. I even did a brief Google search to see if I could find the software online. I couldn't find it. I couldn't even find a website for Snpurdiri, which is even more odd since they sell more products than just this combo. I'm not even going to bother questioning it at this point. The last page in the manual talks about the gamepad and how to set up macro settings as well as lighting settings. You're able to record up to 2 macros at a time on the device, and the directions are as follows. According to the function plus escape key, for about 6 seconds, the backlight flickers, enters the recording state, inputs the recorded content, records the storage according to the function plus F1. The backlight stops flashing and broadcasts the corresponding content content according to the function plus F1. If that didn't make any sense to you, well, that makes two of us. The product page on Amazon explains it way better. Basically, you hold down the function and escape keys for a few seconds and the lighting will begin to blink on the gamepad. You enter in the key commands you want to record and hit either function plus F1 or function plus F2 to save it. Hitting function plus F1 or F2 will play whatever macro you've recorded to either of these profiles. Once everything was all set up and figured out, I booted up Half-Life 2 and I played around for a little bit, and honestly, the experience wasn't totally awful. It felt like maybe there was some input lag, but that could have just been my own hardware on my rather low-end test bench I built. The gamepad was far from comfortable to use, but I did make do. The mouse definitely didn't feel right. The best words I can think of to describe it are sluggish, unresponsive, and floaty. My regular use mouse is way snappier by comparison, but I guess that's the difference between an $80 mouse and an $8 mouse. Overall, I was able to play games with both pieces of hardware, but I would call it a far cry from being the best experience I've had using a gamepad or a mouse. So I need to talk about a very important aspect of this gamepad specifically, and that's its usefulness and versatility. To state it bluntly, it's half a keyboard. I mean, no kidding, it is literally half a keyboard, but that's just it. That's all this is out of the box. You see, here's another gamepad from Razer. I promise I'm not advertising for Razer here, it just happened to be the first example I could think of. You notice anything different? These keys are all individually numbered. They're not like a regular keyboard. That's because Razer offers software to be able to remap all of these keys on this board to whatever you want. Do you want it to be a basic WASD control? You can do that. Maybe each key needs to be a macro. Maybe it's all the extra keys to your favorite MOBA or MMO. Regardless, gamepads typically act as supplementary devices that sit next to your keyboard and add extra functionality. Even ones that have this same half keyboard pattern usually have additional functions to them. Unless you have some pretty decent knowledge of writing macro scripts, all this gamepad will ever be is another half of a keyboard, which makes me ask, why would I want another half of a keyboard to the full keyboard that I already have on my desk? In my use case, there's no reason for it. Now that is my use case. I think there is a more specific audience that would want a setup like this, and all they would need is one extra device. I'll give you a hint. It's a big plus. Sorry, I'll see myself out. You might recognize this from one of the other Amazon products I mentioned in this video. This is a mouse and keyboard to console converter. Basically, you plug your keyboard, mouse, and a console controller into the corresponding USB ports, and the device translates all of your keyboard and mouse inputs into controller inputs that can be understood by the video game console. It's essentially a roundabout way to be able to use a keyboard and mouse on a console, and it's technology that's been improving over the years. Just like other peripherals, you have a ton of different options for what kind of keyboard and mouse adapter you want to buy. This one in particular even came with a USB Type-C adapter to be able to plug into your cell phone or your tablet. I'm not going to get into the whole debacle of whether or not these devices are cheating, but this converter in particular is seen all over Amazon for prices varying in the $20 to $30 range. But somehow I got lucky and got this for just over $8. I think it was an error in the listing because it wasn't on sale and it's already back up to a normal price. I'm not here to review this device. In fact, I didn't really even test it. It's more just here because, well, it was $8 and I saw no reason to not buy it, beside the fact that I wasn't even going to test it, but that's beside the point. Another use case for this gamepad could be for something like your simulator setup where you can't easily access a keyboard from your position. A reviewer from Amazon actually has his gamepad set up just like that, but even then, why not just save up some more money and get yourself something higher quality that will give you more features, like a fully fledged remappable keypad? I feel that statement alone applies to this entire combo set. Save up some more money and buy yourself something higher quality with more features. I have a Red Dragon mechanical keyboard that I bought well over 5 years ago for about $40, and it still works just as great as when I first bought it. I actually highly recommend checking out their product line. They've got great options for mechanical keyboards and also very affordable mice. If you know of any awesome affordable keyboards, mice, or controllers, mention them down in the comments. So that covers the Snpurdiri gaming combo set. So what am I gonna do with these three devices at this point? Well, I plan on repackaging them and donating all of them to my local Goodwill. No, I'm not here to advocate for Goodwill or claim that they're a wonderful company or anything like that. But you know what? While I might not have an appreciation for this gamepad or this mouse, I bet there's someone out there who maybe can't afford as much as I can, and buying these in like new condition at a much lower price is maybe just what they need for their setup. Guys, thank you so much for watching this episode of Dr. Modelot. If you enjoyed the content and you want to see some more, please like this video and subscribe down below. Also, don't forget to ring the notification bell so that you don't miss any new episodes. And for now, this has been Dr. Modelot. Thank you for stopping by the office.
Thank you.